Merci. What? Allez. Oui. What?
Valiant Stories Contest Memorabilia. Lace tightener made by Corporal Lucien du Formental, great-grandfather of Benito Tienzi. From a melted down cartridge case, Lucien served as an electrician in a searchlight division whose mission was to illuminate enemies' positions. Many thanks and congratulations to our winner, Bunny.
What? Hey, what? What? Oui, boy.
crucifix. The majority of soldiers believed in God, and some wore symbols of their religion. War office had to make provisions for different religions, and a variety of religious ceremonies was performed at the front by different faiths. Priests, vicars, and rabbis offered succor and compassion to soldiers. Muslim soldiers from colonies were organized into separate battalions for political reasons, and their beliefs were also respected. Halal foods were provided, as well as Muslim funeral services. Whoops. Come on, dog. Compass. Soldiers used compasses to gain their bearings in open countryside. They were used in conjunction with HQ map. Orienteering was the reserve of officers and non-com officers who issued soldiers with directions. That was a bad direction. Don't get blown up. Oh no. Lots of barbed wire. Minutes earlier, on the other side of the front,
British troops continued their attack on Neuve-Chapelle. Their next objective, take back Port Arthur.
Indian.
Yes, sir. Come on, boys, let's go.
Oh, you really cleared now. Very good. Get it done. Okay, I got my butt. Go on, go on. What are you doing? Okay, I got my butt. Go on, go on. Very good. Get it done. Okay, I got my butt. Well, look at what you're doing now. How do we get back to it? I do hard. Or look at what you've done. How do we get back to it? It'll be very easy.
Oh, I see. Jesus.
Very good. Get it done.
He needs 3 sticks. It's alright. Just clued in. It is 2:15 in the morning, so have to give me a little bit of a break.
It'll be very easy.
4, so he wants this one.
Okay, I got my butt. Go on, go on.
Okay. Alright.
Very good. Get it
This
done.
is...
Oh, that's a dead end. I got my butt. Go on, go on. Very good. Get it done.
There we go.
I got my butt. Go on, go on. Very good. Get it done. Okay, I got... Oh, yes. How do we get back? It'll be very easy. Okay, I got my butt. Go on, go on. Very good. Get it done. Very easy. Oh,
What's wrong?
Merci, mon ami. Du Ragnar. Carl Louis von der. Yeah, come.
Amidst the never-ending attacks and counterattacks, Freddy and Emil hunted the elusive Baron and his regiment in Ypres.
Yeet. Ypres was one of the first gas attacks. I know a lot of people there died from gas, so let's see what happens. So, see?
On April 22nd, 1915, chlorine gas was used for the first time by the Germans.
As you can see, that's the red ensign, so that's Canadian troops, I believe. And it was a Canadian officer that recognized that the gas that was coming across was an attack of gas, and realized that I believe that it was chlorine gas, which was the first attack. He's a scientist, and he knew that if you urinated into a rag and put that rag over your mouth and breathed through the rag and your urine, the ammonia in your urine counteracted the chlorine gas. Now, on that day, the Germans had thought that the Canadians or the men there guarding the trench would have been wiped out by the gas. In fact, many of them lived and totally destroyed that attack and just squashed it. And it was a good victory that day. A lot of men died, but if that man was not there, a lot of more men would have died on what was the Allies' side. On March 10th, 1915, on the march to Belgium, where this damned regiment is stationed, I was not alone. At least I met a funny old French farmer guy, Emile. Doesn't say much, but I understood right his son-in-law's German. How crazy is that? Not days ago, by that, I do not dream of you. Not a day goes by that I don't dream of you. I'm sorry. August 12th. At least I can't wait to get fighting. Maybe it'll ease some of my pain. September 7th. I missed them by a whisker. It won't happen again. My younger brother's letter was sweet. It gave me a real boost. It's good he's back in the States, miles away from the nightmare. That kid has a knack of getting himself into trouble. August 1st, 1914, the bells all over Paris started chiming at 4 p.m. This afternoon, it was eerie. Somebody in the street told me it was for the troop mobilization in case Germany declares war. I write to Father to find out what's going on in Belgium. On March 10th, 1915, at least I have found Emile. Just moments before the shells started firing, I hoped he's managed to dodge the bombs. The letter showed me filled my heart with joy. Marie is well, and Victor is growing up. That is all that matters. August 21st, 1914. Emile, there, right in front of me, sprawling on the ground. Why did his regiment have to come up against mine? I hope he pulls through. He's one tough cookie. I must find out what POW camp he's been taken to. September 25th, 1914. Today the Germans invaded Sainte-Marie. Fortunately, the troops spared the farm. I took shelter in the cellar with Victor. Now what's going to happen?
What? What?
Yeah, how do I...
What? Ah. Hey, what? What?
The Battle of Ypres. Ypres was a key strategic town in Belgium, especially for the British. It was the gateway to the north and thus to Britain. Canadian troops were deployed in the front line, and they provide their endurance and dependability in combat to the Allies. 6,000 Canadian lives were lost in the battle in April 1915. Woohoo, go Canada. First gas attack, April 22nd, 1915 at Ypres. Came the first gas attack in history. 5,730 cylinders of chlorine gas were opened by the Germans. In favorable winds, chlorine gas caused burns to the eyes, skins, lungs, even through the clothes and rubber boots. The effects were devastating. The only defiance found by the Canadians was to cover their noses with urine-soaked handkerchiefs. There you go. The only defense found by the Canadians were to piss in your rags and put it over your mouth. That's what saved a lot of men. Zeppelin bombardment. Zeppelins were invented in 1900 by the German Count von Zeppelin, but the first long-distance flight didn't take place until 1908. Zeppelins weren't much slower than the aircraft of the period and were first used in reconnaissance. They could also fly at higher altitudes, so from 1915 they were used to bomb civilians in London and in Paris. The dogs of war. It is estimated that by 1918 the Germans had employed 30,000 dogs, while the Allies had employed 20,000 dogs. Dogs were recruited from pounds and the police force. While many families also enlisted their pets, dogs had a number of roles as sentries and scouts in postal liaison and equipment transport, in locating casualties and explosives, and also mascots. The main breeds deployed were German Shepherds, Doberman Pinschers, and Bouviers? A lot of animals in World War I were used. Not just dogs. Many horses. Thousands upon thousands of horses were also used. These horses were meant for mounted soldiers. Also for moving a lot of equipment, artillery pieces, wagons, you name it. Many horses died. Many dogs died. At one time, I don't think it was for World War I, but at one time in history, between World War I, World War II, whatnot, The Americans actually tried training dolphins, and dolphins were used to, believe it or not, look for mines and blow them up. Sea mines, marine mines. So it any animal that could help the cause was enlisted and trained, and it was pretty impressive.
What?
Okay, I gotta figure this out. There we go. This is a dog tag, Canadian identification tag. At the start of the war, Canadian identification tags were formed by a large aluminum disc, which was because they were an emergency issue and had a unique shape. They were soon replaced by the standard British tags, as were those of all British Empire forces.
What? What? Does he? What? Now. Hey, that's it. What? Allez. What? Get him. Come on, man. Emil.
Urine-soaked cloth. The only defense against a gas attack before masks were introduced was to cover the nose with a urine-soaked handkerchief. Urine reacts with chlorine directly in the handkerchief to form a less noxious product. Limiting the effects, it was not the most hygienic solution, but it was better than a lung full of hydrochloric acid. I don't know if any of you have experienced gas, tear gas or anything like that. I was in the military. I have experienced training with gas. We used some tear gas. Basically with the tear gas, it was just nothing harmful to the effect that, you know, it would kill you. It certainly hurt or make a mess or make you throw up. Especially if you got a big gulp of it. We had these huge gas houses, and it was for training purposes, and it's basically this building that looks kind of like a house, whatnot. And what would happen is you would be required to dress in your military issued gas suit, and this was to help protect you against the harmful effects of the gas. Now, when you put on your gloves and stuff like that, there can be some openings, whatnot, especially if you're taking them off or you're getting dressed, whatnot. We were required to suit up, and we all did. We put on our masks, and we put on our gloves and everything, and went into the house. Now, what happens is there's no gas at the time, but what they do is they make you all run around in this house in a circle. But think of this house as a big open squared type of building. When you're dressed in your military uniform and you have this gas suit on in a house with no air conditioning in the middle of the summer, it gets hot quickly. And with tear gas, sweat, liquid, really affects the area. So around your neck was exposed, so that would burn because of the tear gas. So another thing that would burn would be at your wrists. You know, when we go in, they actually stand you around in a circle. They put down the gas, and you see the gas spreading. You feel it, you smell it, even through your gas mask and all that. You can still. It's a strange sense, you know. It burns. It burns like a son of a bitch. And when they tell you to take off your mask, and you close your eyes, and you're to hold your breath, and the idea is for you to learn how to keep yourself calm, put your gas mask on, and make a seal. Seal it properly. If you do not seal your gas mask properly against the skin of your face, you'll have lots and lots of troubles because you're going to start inhaling the actual gas. I was lucky. I have experience with some gas masks. I have experience with respirator masks. My father is an insulator, and he used to do work with asbestosis. And what would happen is he would have these masks that you could bring home, whatnot. Now he didn't have the full face mask that he brought home. He did have those at work, but he had the ones where it was like it wasn't, you didn't need the full face and respirator mask. You could just have a standard mask with a vent on it, a filter on it. So I learned how to make a proper seal that way. My dad had taught me, just, you know. So I had some experience on how to make the seal by, you know, covering up the air holes and then, you know, sucking in, making sure that the rubber is right up against your skin. And that's one reason why you can't have a beard in the military, is because these masks have to fit on and keep the seal. You can't have a mustache because that area isn't affected by the mask. So some do have small mustaches, whatnot, but you cannot have a beard. Because you know, putting on a mask with a goatee or a beard, you're going to have holes and not make a proper seal. That experience was, I was shocked at how much it burned. It can burn a lot. I noticed that there's many people in my group that panicked. Panic is one of the worst things that can happen. It's like a fall. You know, you instead of stumbling and trying to recover gracefully, you panic and you just keep stumbling, and then eventually you go off a giant cliff. The worst was the one man. He had not sealed his mask. Couldn't figure out when he had taken it off, he had panicked and he couldn't get it on properly, and he was panicking. He opened up his eyes and his eyes burned. He opened up his eyes to look at the mask to see what was wrong with it. Instead of just trying to remain calm and feel it out with his hands, kind of thing, he opened up his eyes, and boy did it burn, and he took a gasp of air. After that, he had figured out part of his mask because he could see the problem, what it was, and he put his mask on. But that big gulp of air of the tear gas was already in his system and working. You could see this man turning green. Anyways, he ended up throwing up, and all you see is this big splash and a throw up in his gas mask. So they rushed him out. He didn't do very well. There's other people that panicked and were nervous and were scared, and it's an experience. I was in a controlled, very, very, very controlled situation, and it was still scary. I could not imagine what these men went through with this gigantic cloud of gas coming towards them. They didn't know what it was. They didn't know what was going to happen. I feel for them. It is nothing what our generation has ever had to go through. Our generation has no concept of what these men went through, and I regret that our generation does not know more about this. Let's continue.
Come on, man, let's get out of here. Hey, wait. Hey, what? 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 Emil, hurry up! Baba. Hey, what? Help me, Emil! What? Thank you, my friend. You in? Don't worry.
Pocket watch. Time was an important factor in soldiers' lives. Military strategies for attacks and rolling out barrages were based on a tight, chronological, synchronized. Pocket watches were the only way to tell time.
Her name was Anna, a Belgian student living in Paris. She was hard on the trail of her missing father. For once, fate smiled on them. They were all going in the same direction. But while approaching Vimy, a German squadron spotted them.
Vimy Ridge was a huge deal for Canadian soldiers. They did an excellent job in defeating the Germans there, where the Americans and French and English could not. The Canadians were able to push them back. Vimy was a perfect. Was a perfect ridge with a huge amount of machine gun nests. Don't actually know what's going on here. wonder if it froze. It glitched out. Something didn't get picked up. I'm not quite sure what happened there, so let's just see if we can go through it
Her
again.
name was Anna, a Belgian student living in Paris. She was hard on the trail of her missing father. For once, fate smiled on them. They were all going in the same direction. But while approaching Vimy, a German squadron spotted them.
Well, let's just leave it, see what happens for a little bit. Hmm.
Her name was Anna, a Belgian student living in Paris. She was hard on the trail of her missing father. For once, fate smiled on them. They were all going in the same direction. But while approaching Vimy, a German squadron spotted them.
va aller, allez. Allez, Bill! Allez!
Hey, hey. Allez, oui. Vas-y. Oui, bon, je t'ai dit.
The trenches. Between the sides, there was an imbalance in trench conditions. After securing a head start in trench construction, the Germans reinforced them with iron and concrete, while the Allies to wallow in the mud. The Allies' change-over policy made the contribution to this. Allied soldiers had 7-day shifts on the front, where German soldiers were allocated a specific zone for indeterminate period, giving them the chance to settle in. Trench design, there was a huge difference. Like it says, the Germans had wood and concrete, but also trenches were given angles and stuff, sharp 90-degree turns. It wasn't just a straight line trench kind of thing. The reason with the sharp 90-degree angles was for explosives. So if there was an explosion in the trench, it would go along the trench and it would hit that 90-degree angle, causing shockwave and fire and all that to disperse or disappear, like break up. The shockwaves, it helped with the shockwaves. It helped with the fire and stuff like that. So some of the trenches weren't like that, and there was an advantage to having these 90-degree turns. I mean, let's face it, when you are being shelled by 530 cannons in one little area, the shockwaves have a huge impact on the soldiers and the morale of the soldiers. The Labyrinth. Vimy and Nouvelle Saint-Vaast were two positions the Germans were quick to fortify. Here they built the Labyrinth, a complex network of trenches and tunnels connected to go underground sleeping quarters. Allied armies unsuccessfully attempted to seize this key position on numerous occasions. Due to the huge number of casualties in late 1915, the position was declared impregnable. Bring in the Canadians. Morale to the Moroccan Division, Moroccan Division, The Moroccan Division, whose motto was "No Fear, No Mercy," combined soldiers from across French colonial Africa and the Foreign Legion. The division included Moroccan Zouaves and Tunisian and Algerian infantrymen. In 1915, the division seized Vimy Ridge, but in the absence of backup, the battalion HQ, they were forced to retreat after 2 days. The Moroccan Division was the only division whose flags were decorated with the Legion of Honor. Canadian troops actually took Vimy Ridge. There's a huge monument to Canada for taking Vimy Ridge. So I'm not sure about this. This is the first time I've heard of this one. So, naval cannons. Naval cannons were capable of firing heavy-duty 800-pound shells. Due to their weight, they were mounted on special rails for transport to firing platforms. In the event of a retreat, artillery were instructed to destroy their cannons rather than let them fall into the hands of the enemy. In World War I, there were huge cannons being made, rail cannons. In World War II, there were giant ones made. We're talking monumental shells. I mean, it was just insane. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. I know it's something. he's setting off. Yeah, I see that.
Allez, oui. Allez, ouais. Hey, hey. Now, hey. Voilà. Vas-y. Hey. What? Hey, what? Vas-y. Hey, what? Merci, ouais. Ouais, allez, vas-y. Ouais, allez. Allez, oui. Ouais. 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 Oui, bon chien. Eh, ouais.
Vial of nervothiamine. No. To combat problems of morale and physical fitness, Army doctors sometimes distribute nervothiamine injections, a composite of magnesium and potassium intended to give weary soldiers a hearty boost. Tin of sardines. Soldiers were all fed by their respective armies, but they also received parcels back from home to improve their daily lot. Tins of fish, or pate, gave them a more copious nutritional meal than their daily army fare. It's true. There was one thing I remember studying about World War One was a type of bread material that was fed to the British armies. It was called hardtack, or they called it hardtack. What it was very, very, very hard piece of bread. Not in the sense of stale. It was made this way. It was very rock-like. So before they would eat, though, they would soak this in a bit of water. Soak a section or soak a corner or the piece that they were going to eat. It lasted for a very long time. It was, it didn't go moldy like most bread does, or get maggots or anything like that. It was very durable. British coins. Well, the war raged on, life continued, and the economy too. The war economy was composed of both barter and currency systems. Soldiers purchased provision in towns using their pay. In 1914, the pay of the British private in a line regiment was 1 shilling a day. The standard's King's shilling. Obligatory deductions were made for a wife and a child, 6 pence for the wife and 1 pence a day for each child. Nowadays, a shilling has the estimated purchasing power of about 3.21 British pound, Great Britain pound. Which is $5.42 US currency. In 1971, the shilling was replaced by the 5 pence coin thanks to decimalization. Sorry about that.
Hey, what? You got